So this is a short video to try to give you some ideas on getting started with the morph effect. So let me click new sequence. I'll just pick any song. I don't have it set up so you can hear the PC audio. So I'll go into timings. I'm just going to add an empty timing layer and just rename it timings by typing right there in that box. Hit close. Go to sequencer grid, activate that. Let me zoom in a little. You can actually hold down control and use your mouse zoom wheel or center wheel to zoom in and out. So I'm gonna click like on 1 second, hit T for timing, T, 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 so I just added a bunch of 1 second timings. And let me go in to add a few models. So I'll add an arch. Let me go ahead and add 2 arches, and I could have selected these all without closing. I just accidentally kept closing it. And I'll add my ribbon tree so I can give an example how to put a morph on all these objects. So I don't need that anymore, so I'll close it. So you can go up and drag an icon down from the morph. So what I've got rendering here, the red part is is the duration of the head. So basically, and let me show you how to get this set up. So since this is an arch, you're really only going to have like one row, or it's like one string. So you don't need the B part of the points. So you can just say link points, which basically says ignore these bottom two and link them to the top two. You can link that one also. So what you want to set is your X all the way down, your Y all the way down, and on the end point, move X all the way up and keep Y all the way down. Looks like it's not updating. Sometimes you gotta hit update and click on your effect. Now when you do it, it should take effect as you move sliders. So now what I've got here on the start page is basically defining like an XY. Since it's one row, the Y really doesn't do anything. Well, I guess actually it does affect it. So it's almost treating it kind of like a grid. So you want to keep that that Y at 0 for an arch and just move the X around. There are some things you could play around with by moving that Y, but for now I'll just start with something simple. The length on here is the length of the hit. Let me drag this out, which will slow it down so you can see what's happening. So as that head goes across, it has a start size, and also let me show you, if you move this duration over, you see that red extend. That's making it take longer for the head to make it across the model. So if you drag it all the way over, it'll take a really long time. You also see the tail almost catching up to the head as it goes across, because there's not much time for the tail to finish coming across. So a good setting sometimes is in the middle. So it's about equal time on the head and the tail going across. So back here on the start panel, if you move this length over, you can see how we start with a really big head, and then at the end the head shrinks down to whatever size you have set on the second. So if you want it to stay big, you move the second one over and that head stays big all the way across. Or if you want to have, shorter one. I think I've got this set to go up to like 20 pixels. So that one's the only one of these that's not really a percentage based thing. So also, I've only got 2 colors checked, so we try to do some smart selections. So if you've got 2 colors, your head will be the color that's first, and your tail is the color that's second. If I select the third color, then we blend the tails start and end. So you'll see the tail start out green and end in blue as it sweeps across. If you select a fourth color, then the first two do the blending of the head start and end colors. So the head will, let me make it big so you can see it. So the head starts out red and ends up green as it goes across. And then the tail starting out blue and blending to yellow. A lot of times you're going to want the tail to look like it's fading out, so take your fourth color and set it to black, and then you can see it up here in the rendering of the effect how it looks like it's, you know, fading to black. A lot of times, let's see, white stands out. I like this to almost just do a white. So I'll set both those first colors to white, just so the head stays white all the way across. Put it back down a little smaller. So there's a decent morph shooting across. Let me bring this back down so it does it in 1 second, or 2 seconds. Let's do that. So I can also, you can click on that guy and then drag another one down to the second arch. You can change that so he actually starts when the first one's halfway done. And if I go up here and show you my house preview, let me drag that a little bit larger so we can see it. So you can see the first one and the second one shooting over when the first one's halfway. So I'll go ahead and add the other two arches that I have on my display there. So if you click on an effect and then drag the icon, you basically get a copy of whatever that effect is doing. So let's say let's make the second one have a pink tail. So if I click up here on the blue one, drag it down to arch 3. Let me also show you, if you don't like the order of these, go back to the display elements. Let me drag this out and then move that ribbon tree down. So now I've got the ribbon tree out of the way of those arches. And I'll drag this out. So now I want to drop, let's say, a copy of this pink one. So I select that pink one, drag the effect down. Now I got a pink one. So there, we don't have the copy paste working yet, but you can somewhat do a copy by clicking on whatever one you want to copy and then drag the icon and you get a copy of that effect. And in fact, I think you can do the same thing. The way we've set these up, you could drop it onto any model because it's all percentage based. So I can drop it on this ribbon tree here. Now you see how it's just shooting across the bottom of the tree? That's because we had just going in the X direction. That's why I said if you don't have the morph set up right, sometimes you might not even see it doing anything, and it kind of looks like it's not working. But it's all because you gotta set these X and Y points. And since we're on a tree that goes vertically, then we would want to start with a low Y, leave your X in the same spot, and then go to high Y. Now you see that morph shooting up that tree. Let's say you wanted to add some more and you want them to start before the first one finishes, like in the old xLights, version 3, you couldn't do that. You would have to basically, you know, have one and then you would have another one happening right behind it. Well, let's say I want one to start halfway in between, so I add another layer to that, and let's just add a few more layers. So then I can take that effect, and let me put a timing mark here just so I can get the start there. So I'll drop one down on layer 2 and have it start here. And let me click on this one and delete it. So the second one, I haven't moved it. It's still a copy of the first one, so you don't see it yet. So you gotta go back and move this X slider until you see it starting. Let me see if I got to update. You should see that starting and ending on. Oh, you know, I forgot the. No, that should be okay to have them linked because I only want it going up one ribbon. That looks good. That looks good. So what do I have wrong here? Oh, I know what I got wrong. Okay, so when you're working with morphs and you want them on the same model, you need to change the blend mode to one reveals two. So it's good to start with that. Then when you make your copies, they all have that blend mode. Now you can see both those morphs at the same time. I think we talked about wanting to make the default for the morph be that mode because a lot of times when you're working with morphs, you're going to want to see multiple morphs on the same model. So it almost makes sense to just make that always be the default blend mode for a morph. So now that I got that, let me go back and click here and get that end point so it's going up in a straight line. Then you could make another copy down on another layer, and just so you can see these easier, let me change the coloring of each one. Okay, I didn't move the third one yet, so let me change the start of the third one. I'll move it over. So you can see you don't have to go straight in a straight line either. So you can see how it's kind of curving as it goes up. It's all based on, this is setting an XY point. So that you can see it better, so let's start way out here, out of the way of everything. And let's just do a morph that fully covers that model. So start with, unlink the points, start with Y at the bottom, X fully covering, then go to the end, and you still have X fully covering, and then Y's are at the top. Unlink the points. Now you got a morph that's shooting up that entire model. So you can really see what you got there. If I extend the time out, it slows down. Now you can, this is the one we're working on, so I'll slide it over. So now you can really see, you know, more of what's happening with that morph. As you move that head duration, you see the head shoots across quicker. If you make it really long, the head shoots across slower. So I kind of like it in the middle a lot of times. I'm trying to work also on this acceleration math, so if you move that over, it should start out and then kind of shoot real fast, but it's kind of ramping up exponentially, so I gotta decide what kind of algorithm to use for that. I just changed this. I haven't checked in this change yet, but I just added it so you can go negative acceleration and have it slow down. So that's kind of cool. So some of these other things are ideas I got from Superstar, which I think is a great program, and that's what, you know, what the basic idea of this. In that program, it's a little easier because you have a grid where you draw your XYs, and so it's easier to see where your morph is starting. I'm doing everything percentage based, which gives you the advantage of being able to drop it on any model because it automatically scales to the size of your model. Let's see what else. So show head at start basically just makes the head automatically visible right when the effect starts. These are just quick ways to, like if you want your tail to be the same color as your head, just you can quickly change it by hitting that button. And it's same thing with the end of the tail. So it's basically setting the beginning and the end of the tail to the same as the head. So let's say you had white and orange and you did this, you'd have white and orange for your tail also. So it's just a quick way to try to set the color to match the head. So I think that's all the settings here except for showing you, you know, once you've got the morph going like this, it's easier to see how the XY affects it. So it's starting at the bottom, and you basically defined a vector that went from the left edge to the right edge, and then the vector moves all the way up to the top. And you know what, this will be easier to see if we had a matrix. So let me go to the preview, click on models, new, I'll type in, put this where you can see it, type in matrix, horizontal matrix. I'll say I've got 32 strings with 50 per string. Let me see what that looks like. So that's right here in the middle. So now let me go back over here, right click, edit display elements, and add that matrix. Okay, since the channels are duplicated, what you're seeing is anything that's going up that ribbon tree is also duplicated on that matrix. That's probably going to be confusing, so let me go back and change the starting channel on that. So I'll make it 1801. And I'll just temporarily, since I know that matches my other tree, let me just delete that tree. Alright, now I'm going to take this same morph, drag it down, on that matrix. So now you see it shooting up the matrix. So it's a little bit easier to figure out what that XY is doing when you see it on a square like that. And let's get the other one out of the way so it's not confusing us. So as I move that top X point over, let me make sure it's updating. So as I move that X point over, you see how it changes where the start vector is. So if I move it all the way over, it's going to start on a point on the right, halfway over, and it's going to start in the middle. So you're kind of defining where your start point is on the left side of the vector, and the other side of the X determines where the other side of the vector is. So if you put these things backwards, you can actually make that thing do a twist because your vector is twisting as it goes up. Let's see, the other thing you could do, well, if you wanted it to go, let's say, left to right, then you'd be starting with X is the same, but X would be the same, Y top to bottom. See how you can do some strange things like that. And then you would still want X to be all the way across here. Now you have it shooting left to right. And let's say you wanted it to end halfway up, you can move that point. So you're basically just moving, you're basically drawing vectors, but it's a little clunky because you're using sliders to draw the vectors. So let's make this one do kind of a twist. So you can get some pretty cool little twisting things going on with the way the vectors get arranged. I'll change that back to white just because I want to see that. So I think that should give an idea how to play around with the morph. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. If you go back and let's see what we have going on back here. Yeah, so here's showing how you get multiple ones on the same layer. So let me grab like this one and make a copy and put it down here right in the middle of there. So that's shooting kind of fast. Let me slow it down. So you can see how I just put that underneath all the other ones, so it's actually happening at the same time. Yeah, that doesn't look very good right there, but just kind of showing how you can blend them. And really, we're in effect play mode right now. Since you're clicked on the effects, you're not really seeing the other ones. You'd have to like click up here and start play if you want to see everything happen along the timeline. So that's about 20 minutes. I think I'll stop there, and hopefully that gives you enough to get started on using morphs.